In this video, I'm going to share one of the most incredible and shocking case reports. A 60-year-old man with diabetes-induced kidney disease and colon cancer was facing the imminent need for dialysis. His creatinine levels had risen to 9.6 milligrams per deciliter, a level that normally calls for emergency dialysis. But he didn't give up. Instead, he tried something bold and radical. He began a kidney-focused diet centered around a food that's often condemned for kidney patients, a food many are advised to avoid even before reaching late-stage CKD. And then, the impossible happened. His creatinine levels dropped, his kidney function skyrocketed, and he avoided dialysis, all thanks to one food, a forbidden food. This is the story of a patient who overcame all odds, a group of researchers who dared to challenge outdated beliefs, and a chronic kidney disease patient who conquered one of the biggest hurdles. Most importantly, there was a measurable improvement in kidney function in real life. It almost feels like a movie. In fact, this isn't just a medical report, it's like a Christopher Nolan plot twist disguised as science, with one big difference: every part of this story is true. Published in a prestigious medical journal, this study documents a recovery that could change the way we view diet and late-stage CKD. The treatment, the turnaround, the relentless hope of the patient, it's all here. Before we dive into this miracle fruit and how to safely incorporate it into your diet, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and share this video. Alright, now let's reveal the forbidden food that helped this man avoid dialysis, a banned food with kidney-saving potential. Now, if you've been following along, you might already know what it is: watermelon, the fruit your nephrologist might have told you, don't speak of it, don't eat it, don't look at it, don't even think about it. And I know what you might be thinking: how could a food that's basically sugary water with potassium help a stage 5 CKD patient with diabetes? And that's exactly what makes this case so fascinating. Because not only did watermelon help a stage 5 diabetic CKD patient improve, it helped him avoid dialysis altogether. And this, right here, is what science should be about: challenging accepted norms, not just repeating whatever some outdated textbook printed back in 1987 says. If we stuck to that logic, we'd still be using bloodletting to balance humors and blaming kidney disease on anti-nutrients. So what makes watermelon so special? Despite what most people think, watermelon is actually a superfood. That's right. And there's a specific antioxidant found in watermelon that offers incredible kidney protective benefits: lycopine. Lycopine is an extremely powerful antioxidant. It can protect against free radical damage, of course, but it does much more than that. Lycopene is also associated with reduced blood pressure and improved cardiovascular and vascular health. Lycopene seems to be particularly effective for diabetic kidney disease. And in people with kidney disease in general, higher blood lycopene levels are linked to a lower risk of death. So, this is a very potent antioxidant, and it can make a real difference. Thanks to this antioxidant, watermelon made a huge difference for this patient. But what if I don't like watermelon? What if I can't find it? What if my dog judges me for eating it from the fridge at 2 a.m.? Those are great questions. The good news is, there are other foods rich in lycopene. And do you know which food is famous for having lots of this kidney-saving antioxidant lycopene? Tomatoes are packed with lycopene. You can even cook tomatoes to make the lycopene easier to absorb. And as we can see, when tomatoes are dried, or turned into sauce or powder, the concentration of everything inside them, including lycopene, goes up, which is great. So, there are a few other options available, not just watermelon. However, I generally don't recommend tomato sauce or powder for CKD patients because the potassium levels are very high. Tomatoes are great, but here's the truth: watermelon has twice the lycopene content of fresh tomatoes per 100 grams. Eating just 100 grams of watermelon, that's not a meal, it's a reminder. And that's why watermelon is so fantastic. Now, there's also one food everyone should avoid: grapefruit. Don't even look at it. That fruit is not your friend. Why? Because it messes with the liver enzyme CYP3A4, if you want to sound smart, and turns your medications either into radioactive toxins or into tap water. But yes, there are other foods you can add to your diet. So, start naturally adding more lycopene into your meals, and your kidneys will thank you. However, the patient in the study we're looking at today improved with watermelon, not tomatoes. The truth is, as I said, you can eat a lot of watermelon without any problems. And honestly, I don't need a reason to eat more watermelon. But is lycopene enough to help someone with stage 5 CKD? Because watermelon isn't just about antioxidants and lycopene. Another thing the literature mentions is arginine and citrulline. But why are they important for this miracle healing? I could dive deep into biochemistry and start analyzing nitric oxide pathways and endothelial function, but you're here for kidney-friendly foods, and I'm not a molecular biology PhD. So, arginine and citrulline are blood flow boosters. They relax your arteries, lower blood pressure. Basically, they make your blood vessels more flexible than a yoga instructor. And they're really effective, especially citrulline. Some people even take citrulline as a natural alternative to sleep meds. Not only does it improve blood flow to the genital area, but it also supports blood flow to your kidneys, because yes, your kidneys need blood too. And studies are also speculating that the kidney protective abilities of citrulline are especially beneficial for people with diabetic kidney disease, just like the patient in the study we're reviewing today. Now, human research on citrulline for CKD isn't conclusive yet, but thanks to animal studies like this one, we know how citrulline works in the human body, and I fully expect it to work in people too. Because, you see, there's no food in the world with a higher citrulline content than watermelon. So, add watermelon to your diet. There's really no reason not to, especially in moderation. It's packed with lycopene and citrulline, and as we've seen, they're fantastic for kidney protection. And there are other foods we should also look into if our goal is to add more lycopene and citrulline into our diets. Let's take a look at some trustworthy sources of lycopene and citrulline. There are some extremely healthy foods here. You'll find some great sources of both lycopene and citrulline, and you'll also see their potassium content. Now, let's highlight a few surprising items. The goal is to find foods that people can easily add to their diets, like cucumbers, the unsung hero of hydration. Essentially, they are the bitter version of watermelon. They don't have lycopene, but they do have a good amount of citrulline, are very low in potassium, and are actually more useful than just as an eye mask. Bonus point: eating cucumbers at the beginning of a meal can help stabilize blood sugar levels, since cucumbers are also high in fiber, especially if you keep the peel on. Cucumbers are like an appetizer that says, "I care about my kidneys." Now, there's another food on this list that contains both lycopene and citrulline, a food I often recommend because it's been extensively studied for its anti-diabetic properties. I'm talking about bitter melon. This food is low enough in potassium to be safe and can also be cooked to enhance lycopene absorption. It's not as tasty as watermelon. But hey, bitter melon is actually one of the most medicinally powerful foods you can put on the table. Now, zucchini, This food is also worth mentioning because even though its lycopine and citrulline levels aren't particularly high, zucchini is still very healthy, low in calories, high in fiber, and rich in antioxidants, especially vitamin A and vitamin C. And if you roast it properly, it won't even taste boring. But if you add all these foods to your diet, which you absolutely can, as long as you follow potassium restriction recommendations, the amount of antioxidants, vitamins, and essential nutrients you'll be adding will be outstanding. You'll be adding a lot of fiber too, and that alone justifies the effort. Now, there's a question I think might be popping into your head right now. Is eating watermelon enough to prevent stage 5 CKD? That's not how it works. So here's the thing. Researchers published this study attributing many of the remarkable improvements in this man's diabetes and CKD to watermelon. They even pointed out that the patient didn't change any of his medications. So, was it just watermelon? Because while the study makes it sound like watermelon is the holy grail of food, you might start to think these researchers believe everything revolves around watermelon. Don't get me wrong. I love watermelon. I eat it every day in the summer, and in winter, I eat cantaloupe pretending it's watermelon. But I'm not one of those watermelon believers. I'm not putting it on a flag or naming my first child Citrina. I believe there's more to the human experience than just watermelon. So is it possible that this patient's improvement was not just because of watermelon but also due to something else? Even if, as the researchers pointed out, the patient didn't change any of his medications and simply started eating a lot of watermelon. Because here's the thing, this video isn't about me saying eat watermelon and all your problems will disappear. No, what I'm really saying is, eat all the right foods, like the ones we discussed today, because they can truly help. But only when they are part of a plan, a truly comprehensive plan. Because what clinical experience shows is that when the right treatments start, the results can be life-changing. And I'm not just talking about fruits and vegetables. You also need to make sure your diabetes and blood pressure are controlled, your doctor is monitoring your serum phosphorus, PTH, and calcium levels, and your anemia is properly diagnosed and addressed with the correct tests, not just here's some iron, good luck. Because these are all essential parts of successful kidney treatment, and they're often the parts that get overlooked, neglected, or delayed again and again. So if you're sitting there wondering, am I really getting the right care? Then maybe it's time to stop guessing. I'm here to help you eliminate the guesswork from your diet and treatment. Now, it's time to ask the most important question about watermelon, the question we're all dancing around in the dialysis center: is the earth actually made of watermelon? No. The real question I always get in the comments whenever I mention any fruit: can people with diabetes actually eat watermelon? Shouldn't they be eating more protein instead, like a grilled chicken breast wrapped in bacon while whispering no carbs? The short answer: they can absolutely eat watermelon. And if that makes your favorite keto influencer cry into their plate of pure butter, so be it. Watermelon is not the enemy. It's not secretly plotting to destroy your pancreas. It's not texting insulin at 3 a.m. saying, "You up?" The reality is that watermelon is not only safe for people with diabetes, it's actually one of the best fruits to include in a low-protein kidney diet. Why? Because it's low in potassium per serving, provides hydration, is packed with antioxidants, and is relatively low in sugar per gram compared to many other fruits. So where does the fear of watermelon come from? Probably from the same place that told you carbohydrates are evil and broccoli causes depression, the carnivore, keto, paleo influencer mafia. You know the type. Take grapes, for example. You think it's a fruit, it's healthy, natural, good for you, right? The reality is, all the fruit we find in supermarkets today isn't natural, it's a bag of sugar. And so, a grape, when you look at it, is really just a big dose of sugar in fruit form. People think it's good for them, but in terms of blood sugar, it can be a big glucose shock. These are the same people who believe carbohydrates are worse than crimes. They look at a piece of fruit and scream poison, while they're eating spoonfuls of pureed liver and wondering why their blood pressure is through the roof. No one in human history has ever developed type 2 diabetes from eating watermelon. Yes, fruit contains sugar. So does your blood. That's literally how your body works. But guess what? The sugar in a piece of fruit is not the same as the sugar in a frosted cupcake. Saying they're the same because both contain sugar is like saying a sip of water and a tsunami are the same because they're both made of water. Technically true, practically, one will drown you. So next time a keto preacher tries to scare you away from eating a piece of watermelon, remember, the scientific community views keto influencers the same way they view flat earthers. Alright, bottom line, no one has ever gotten diabetes from eating fruit. And that's all for today. Thanks for watching, and God bless you all. Goodbye.